Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'm just gonna kind of give you like a brief overview of how we're gonna continue to access content and information in class for the rest of the year. So what I need you to do, guys, is like one, like I'm trying as hard as possible to make things like the way that they were, but also like a lot of this is kind of coming from the network level, especially for like United States history, AP. We'll have something different because I get to make the lessons for those, but the structure will look very much the same as it has over the first couple of trimesters of the year. So as always, we're going to be working with Google Classroom, so nothing there will change. I was really trying to avoid adding additional new things, although I found a bunch of like really cool stuff out there that we can do. I think especially at least for the first couple of weeks until we get to the point where like we feel comfortable accessing Microsoft Teams, Google Classroom, this whole new everything. I think some continuity here should help kind of with some of the alleviate some of the bumps in the road along the way. U.S. history remains the same. AP U.S. history stays the same. You guys are going to have your daily assignments in here. I will be making sure that each of your assignments has the correct due date and time on it, which we'll discuss what that's going to look like here in a moment. But if anybody has any troubles accessing Google Classroom at this point, guys, I'm going to pause here. I'm having a hard time speaking, apparently. What is most critical about this is communication, right? Because like I can't see you face to face, and I can't just predict when you're going to have trouble. So as things happen, which inevitably to some of you they will, as far as like my computer stopped working, or I can't log into Google Classroom, or like all of the different things, make sure that you're communicating this stuff to me. All right. From there, I can do troubleshooting, right? But if I don't know there's a problem, then I have no way of knowing that there's a problem. So, again, like I'm trying to keep this as kind of continuous as possible to what we've seen earlier in the year. So that's Google Classroom. We're good on that. So let's look at our syllabus, and this is going to be different for AP, guys. Same kind of structure, but just like how we cover things is going to look a little different, as well as like how grading and all that stuff is going to go. So I will say that all of this is completely up to change. Okay, both the network, the district, the state, like are all trying to figure out how best to continue to assess your knowledge using grades so that college transcripts and things like that are going to remain consistent. But as of right now, grading is going to be 80% of your grade will be practice and participation, and 20 will be in the formative category. All right, that's for now. I am willing to bet that there will be changes to this. So bide your time. Okay, just make sure that you're keeping an eye on all the communications that are going to be coming out to you. All right, so as you see here, this is subject to change. 80% of grading will be in the practice and participation category, blah, 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 blah. So you will access your materials via Google Classroom. You guys are all familiar with that, so you're good to go. This course calendar is also subject to change, and right now is pretty U.S. history specific. A-Push, yours is going to look different because as of like next week, starting on the 13th, I believe, that Monday when we get back, we will be doing a mix of wrapping up period 7 content and starting to look back. For U.S. history, though, this is a pretty good look at how the rest of our year is going to play out. Week 1 is just going to be kind of e-school rollout. Xenophobia, this is something that like we all are going to look at because right now what is going on is obviously a pretty momentous occasion in American history, and I think it does kind of behoove us to really reflect on like how we're understanding this moment in time, and then how we can like, or how this might look to future generations when they talk about the COVID-19 of 2019, 2020. All right. Week 2, you can see we'll be revisiting some U.S. history through practice. The Great Depression and New Deal. Again, this is pretty U.S. history specific at this point. Week 4 is going to be World War II. Week 5 will be post-World War, and then we'll be reviewing key content and practice. A-Push, again, guys, we're going to be doing a mix of this throughout, but I will say we are not going any further than period 7, which was 1945, until after the A-Push test. Then we're going to try to continue to do some new content, especially because everything got interrupted, but again, just bear with me. All right, so you see our course disclaimer here. Students will be prepared for class. This means every student must log into Google Classroom and review materials and participate in, God, they love their like little terms, right? Synchronous learning. All that really means is that in the allotted amount of time that social studies is given every day, or I guess 3 times a week, right? Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Those periods is your synchronous time, where I will be available to you to provide direct instruction should we need it. Not all days you're going to need it, but also be available to answer any of your questions and provide support to those who are struggling. All right, so that's our synchronous learning time. That means the time that we're all in sync together looking at or working with the content for this class, whether it be U.S. history or AP U.S. history. Okay, all materials are going to be due every Friday by 12 o'clock p.m., noon. All right. As I said, this course will quote-unquote meet on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays during the quote-unquote social studies block. The schedule, this may vary depending on each school, but for ours, that is going to be what it is. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, again, the teacher will hold class and be available to answer questions for students. I think I'm going to do more of these videos, one, so that you guys can access this content at your leisure, and 2, so that I can be like fully present during our 140 to 240 block that we have on Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and be able to respond to your questions rather than like, I'm going to give you a lecture right now. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. On Fridays, the teacher, I, will hold office hours where students can log in to ask any pertinent questions via Teams or email in regard to that week's lesson. Guys, I'm only speaking for myself here. I don't speak for any of your other teachers, but I will say that like I'm going to be pretty available pretty much all day, every day. With the exception of obviously like our class time, but that our synchronous, quote unquote, class time. But obviously at that time, I'll also be available to you. So if you have concerns, questions, how you're accessing content, all these different things, please reach out during that time. Okay. Next is what our first week's assignment is going to look like. And this is going to be both AP and A-Push. All right. Our goal here is, one, to just become familiar without going all like crazy on content just in our first couple days. But most of your lessons are going to be structured like this. They gave us all these new fun little templates, whatever. But they're pretty like straightforward as far as like they look similar to what we already do. So your introduction, this video you'll already have watched if you're watching the syllabus overview right now. Hopefully it wasn't too terrible. Next, this is the syllabus overview that you're looking at right here, but you can also click on the course syllabus to access that. It will also be available to you in Google Classroom. Each part is going to have an actual assignment page, and I'm going to show you what that assignment looks like here, but this is like what your actual like to-do is. This week's is going to look like this. You are going to create a primary source. So your task is you will write a short diary entry about how you have felt or what you have been up to for the past weeks, essentially creating your own primary source. So like if a historian 80 years from now who had never experienced the coronavirus pandemic of 1920 can look back and say, so this is how like your average American teen dealt with this time. And so we've provided you with some examples. Like the first one here is like a flapper girl, if you guys remember those. Those are the young women who like were exploring their like freedom and sexuality in the 20s for the first time. They got a lot of pushback from their parents, et cetera, but this is kind of like from the point of view of a teenager. This one is actually kind of what you guys are doing, a primary source of somebody right now in 2020, March 11th, who's dealing with being in quarantine. So you get kind of an example of what that looks like. And then in part C, you're going to provide your own little solution here. So this is something that you can just delete and write your own little example of this. Apparently you can't delete this way, but you'll delete that and then you'll just give like your explanation similar to this and this, okay? You do need to make sure that you've replaced this line down here with a title of like what your document is saying and a particular date. And then I strongly urge you guys to upload a document here. It can be a picture of essentially anything that you think represents the time. Is this something that like has been kind of ubiquitous, meaning like being experienced everywhere simultaneously by kind of everybody, i.e. like Tiger King. Don't know how many of you guys have watched that, but it's a pretty popular thing right now. Or like maybe potentially the coronavirus task force updates that go out on the news stations every day. A meme, it really doesn't matter, but I do strongly urge that you provide a document there. So that's module 1. There will be more information forthcoming starting on Wednesday, tomorrow, obviously. Well, I guess today if you're looking at this. But from this point on, guys, questions, please ask them. Email me, text me, team me, Google Classroom message me, whatever you need to do to access the content. Thank you guys so much and have a great day.